know, right? We're calling the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, to the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
You ready to talk?
All right. Let's get started on the presentation. This is the draft or proposed version of the 2026 budget, and we'll be covering the operating, capital, and cash flow budgets. And there's a lot of information that's in this. Please hold any questions to the very end. I'd really appreciate it. And we're, of course, live streaming this meeting, and you can find all the information if you're at home and you want to look at the packet that we're going to be going over on our home page. You're going to go to member resources. On the second page, you're going to go to governance in the bottom left. And then on the third page, you're going to see budgets and financials. And then here you'll see yearly reports, and you're going to go down and find the budget presentation under yearly. So you can print out what the board is looking at right now. It's the exact same document. I'd like to introduce members of the board. We have Chair Jason Lloyd, Vice Chair Jeff Hendren, J.B. Portello, Jackie Gain, David Brandenburg, Kathleen Coughlin, Sandy Fosdick, Deborah Lukacs, and Bob Brooks. And we always appreciate their volunteer hours and many hours that they dedicate to the community and doing the budget. So this is the tentative plan, meaning it's proposed. There might be additional changes that may be made to this budget. And then we anticipate that the board will vote on this at next week's meeting on November 20th. All right, so when we do the financials, we're going to give you several pieces of information. So I'm referencing the packet that you're looking at right now, and so hopefully those at home printed it off already. And we're going to give you the 2024 actuals. We're going to give you the trailing 12, which is September 2024 through August 2025. So that gives us a full 12 months and hopefully covers any seasonality and so forth. We're going to give you the proposed 26 budget, and then the Delta report or the change. Now on the Delta report, we're only going to compare the trailing 12 and the budget. So we're really not going to reference 2024, but it's there if you want to look at it, if you need another benchmark to compare it to. So just be aware when I talk about change, I'm going to talk about only the trailing 12 in the budget. I'm not really going to reference 24, but that's there if you need it. So here is the simple cash flow report, and we're not going to go into the numbers just yet, but I want to show you how the first column is the description, the second column is the 2024 actual, the third column is the trailing 12, then the budget, and then the delta. So that's how all the reports are going to be lined out so that you can track and see how everything goes. And then on the very bottom, this report, you can see the simple cash flow, and that must be positive per POA policy. Now we're going to give you a sneak peek. We're going to start with a real quick sneak peek on the overall, and then we're going to dive down into each of the departmentals, because if you spend too much time on the overall, you're going to ask a lot of questions that are going to inherently be answered when you get into the departmentals. So we're going to give you first a real quick sneak peek. This is overarching, and then we're going to go to departmental. So on the golf side, golf revenue is going to go up. Two things are going up. Two things are occurring. First of all, our member green fees and some of our guest green fees are going to increase, and we talked about that as much as 6-7 months ago. And then hopefully, knock on wood, we're going to have all of our golf courses open all year long. So, and then to a smaller extent, we have Tenure Creek is going to be open a full year. So keep in mind, when you're looking at the trailing 12 and you're thinking about Tanyard Creek. Well, Tanyard Creek opened up in February. So when you look at the trailing 12, it's only about 5 months worth of impact on the trailing 12. So it makes your delta very challenging to look at. Same thing for the gun range because they opened it about the same time. New revenue, we have the recreational amenities fee. And keep in mind, all those funds must be used either for capital projects or capital reserves, one or the other. Okay, and we've accounted for that. And then F&B, we're anticipating that's going to go up by $275,000 with the transition to Little Sugar, and then a full year at Tanyard Creek Practice Center, that bar. All right, assessments, we're anticipating going up about $100,000, $130,000 as more properties convert from unimproved to improved. And we actually have a really good slide in here later on about collections and how our team continues to do a great job of getting better and better at collections. Activity card prices will go up by $10. That will net out about $125,000. We're going to implement a credit card convenience fee. Boat registrations are going to go up, and that's going to impact us by about $108,000. Now, golf is going to impact our cost of sales as you sell more merchandise. So think of Tanyard Creek and all the merchandise that we sell at that location. So when you do more sales, you're going to have more cost of sales. All right, on the labor side, Social Security is going up 2.8%, so we matched that. So that's about $375,000. So that's going to be split out between all the departments. Okay, so in the delta in the report, when I talk about the change in each department, I'm not going to talk about that because that's just all departments, and I'd be saying the same thing over and over again. Operating golf operations. We needed to add one additional full-time employee. The days of having part-time employees that were paid minimum wage and they mainly worked to get free golf, yeah, those days are long gone. We have to pay real money now to get fill those positions. Recreation. We're anticipating labor is going to decrease by about $115,000. We reduced one manager position, and we're going to reduce lifeguard hours. So we're going to talk about that when we get to the recreation portion of this presentation. We're also going to talk about reducing overtime at golf maintenance and F&B. Heavy hit for us. And these are the kind of things between liability insurance and then medical insurance, two things that have very limited control over. This is a heavy hit. We're anticipating this is going to go up $647,000. We are self-insured, and I always preach you got to look over a 5 or 10-year period. It absolutely saves us money over the long run, but you're going to have years that really hit you hard. This is one coming our way, and the one we're in 25 right now, and we've been getting hit hard this year also. Trailing 12 months we're now going to have the gun range, Tanyard, Highlands, all those things are impacting. Golf maintenance budget is $173,000 increase as we roll over these leases and so forth. Contract labor is budgeted to decrease by $135,000 in F&B and golf maintenance. Okay, so after all these changes, and I'm going to go into this in much more detail, you can see the total income impact is $2.5 million, and the recreational amenity fee was a huge portion of that total increase. And then you have golf and all the other things that I mentioned, and then you have cost of sales, I talked about that, and then expenses. And so look, it's the total expenses are going up by $785,000, and we talked about medical alone is $647,000 of that total increase. So you got to keep that in mind when you look at that. So that gives you a positive EBITDA of $154,000. You have the allocation from water. So we'll talk about this more, but keep in mind the water department does not have their own services. They don't have accounting. They don't have legal. They don't have collections. They don't have marketing. They don't have IT. They don't have any of that. So we actually charge them a service fee for that, and we calculate that every year. Then we have capital. We're going to go into that in more detail. We have bank loans. We have additions to the reserve, the water loan, prepaids, and that gives you a positive cash flow of $125,000. And that's a change from last year. Last year, we got really tight on that, and we had a suggestion from one of our board members that we shouldn't have it so tight. All right. Now we're going to get into departmentals. Now, in your packet, you have a more detailed report of the departmentals, but what I'm going to present on screen is going to be a summary. Same information. We're going to give you a little bit more information at home, but just want to make sure it's just a slightly different report. We try and make it a little bit easier because we're still going over 12 departments, so that's a lot of information to digest. All right, let's talk about fee changes. All right, let me get a quick sip of water. All right, now the fee changes. Now in the packet that you have, it has the fee schedule in the packet. So if you're looking for more detail, it's in there. So this is a summary, if you want to call it that. All right, first of all, water department. This is going to be a little bit of a challenging situation. So the retail water rates, we're looking to increase by 7.5. This is the base rate and the volumetric rate, meaning when you use more water, you get charged more. Right now it's 7.5%. We have been working with the city of Bentonville, which is our primary supplier. They supply about 70% of our water. I sent them a letter on our 20-year agreement back in May of 2024. We've been encouraging them to update this agreement. Unfortunately, it is not done yet. We just found out just recently it is still not done. So this one is in flux. So we're hedging our bet, and we are still working on the contract with the city of Bentonville. So this increase may change. If it does change, it would take an additional vote by the board. We're going to have to determine that when we find out. We have been pushing them. I can only push so much. Processing fee is going to be $250 per month, and this is for all processing. So back in the day, you'd have a credit card processing fee because when you cashed a check or you had an ACH, they were free. Not anymore. They're charging for just about everything. So we're going to get rid of the $2 portal fee, and we're going to replace it with the $250. And so that's heading your way. Activity card is going to go up by $10. We're also going to implement a credit card convenience fee, and that's going to impact assessments, membership transfer fees, and lots that are sold online. You know, when we sell a lot online, sometimes these lots are going for $15,000, $20,000, and they're using credit cards. We're getting just hammered on credit card fees. So, hey, if you want to pay a different mechanism, great, but right now. Now, keep in mind, on the water side, it's a processing fee, all transactions. Over here in the POA, it's only on credit cards, okay? So that's the difference. And you'll notice that as we go through here, we talked about this. If the assessment increase was not approved, we'd have an increase in a variety of different fees. Well, these are a good example of some of those fees that are going up. All right, golf fees. So your annual is going to go up from $1,600 to $1,750. So what we're going to do on that, and I cover this in much more detail in the board packet, but if you come in and say December or January to renew your annual, we're going to charge you 2 months at the old rate and 10 months at the new rate. Okay? All right. And then when you play golf, well, if you play golf in February, it's going to be at the $33 rate. But if you play golf on March 1st and going forward, it's going to be at the $40 rate. Okay? And why March 1st? Well, that was the commitment that the board made 6 years ago, okay? That the fees would stay in place for 3 years, and then that was renewed by the 3-for-3 plan 3 years ago. And so 6 years comes up March 1st, and so our fees have not changed in 6 years. And we did a competitive market analysis on these fees, and we feel very comfortable that they are still a great value to our membership. With regards to guest fees, we are currently charging $60 Monday through Thursday. We're going to raise it to $70 all week long. 9-hole rate is going to go up by $3. Twilight is going to go up by $5. Super Twilight by $3. So the 10-play prepay will go up by the $7 times 10, so that's $70. The junior rate is going to go up. Okay, lake fees. So kayaks, non-motorized, under 10 miles per hour, kayaks, canoes, supboards. We're going to go from 15 to 25, and I have some statistics on it for you later on in the presentation. Under 18 feet, we'll go from 75 to 115. Over 18 feet, we'll go from 125 to 190. Once again, on this boat registration and on annual mooring and slip, we're going to do the same thing we're going to do with with annual golf registrations. 2 months at the old rate, 10 months at the new rate. Now, if you come and you register your boat and you're a brand new registrar and you register your boat on March 1st, it's going to be at the higher rate. We're not going to give you the 2 months at the lower rate. And then the marina, we're going to increase those rentals by $5 per hour across the board. Okay, so I wanted to cover those fees because now we're going to get into the departmentals. And so if you look at the golf departmental, and you're going to go, well, why is revenue going up? Well, we just talked about the fees, so that'll keep you in mind. When you look at the lakes, exact same thing. All right, we're going to talk about the most entertaining department first, which is legal. So you're going to see that revenue will decrease marginally compared to the trailing 12. In this case, I like to say, we are a victim of our own success. We continue to drive down the number of delinquencies. And so when we have a delinquency and we foreclose on that, and then we get revenue from that, we're just running out. And that's a good problem to have, but we're running out. Labor is going to decrease over the 12 months due to the loss of one part-time position in database. Remember, this is legal and database. And we do not plan on refilling that. So here's the judicial auction revenue. You see, we started very modestly. I remember when we were first creating the website, the online auction website, way back here, and then, wow, in 2022, it was just a boon. And then we're starting to run out of properties that we can auction and foreclose upon. And when we're foreclosing upon these people, the amount that they owe is getting less and less. All right, so I talked about this is the summary. So in your packet, you have more detail. This is the summary. We talked about revenue going down marginally, labor going down by a little bit because we're not replacing that one position, and then expenses going up a little bit. So you can see what happens to the EBITDA for that department. Who knew, years and years ago, who knew that this department would be a revenue-generating department? But it is. All right, now we're going to talk about human resources. All right, we are budgeting for a decrease in labor because we're allocating. So what we take is we're taking the interim manager of health, safety, and facilities. Okay, this is a newer position. Previously, clubhouses fell under the F&D realm, and our previous director of business development took care of both. We are searching for a new director of F&D, and we want them focused on F&D only. We don't want them focused on clubhouses, so we repositioned and restructured this. So we're taking portion of that person's revenue, they still safety, and we're going to put that into clubhouses. So just want to give you yours. So it makes the HR numbers artificially look better, but when you get clubhouses, you're going to see the flip side of that. Okay, and we're also planning on doing a salary survey towards the end of 2026 because we want to make sure we stay competitive. And we've found out in the past that we were not always competitive. So you can see here is the labor decrease we talked about, and on the expense side, well, that survey is the bulk of that increase right there. All right, let's talk about member resources. Okay, so activity cards purchased. Now, this includes dependent cards. So you have paid for, the first and second activity card of the family. You also have dependent cards. So in total, it's about 22,000, but about 17,000, 16,000, 17,000 are paid, and the other one are dependent ones. So you can see that we can continue to grow, especially if you look all the way back to the old photo ID days. We're pretty much double that, if not more. So we can continue to grow. All right. So we're going to have various small increases. This is a relatively modest size department. But one of the other things that we're going to talk about is we're going to allocate software support. It used to be covered under IT, and we felt that we could more accurately present that information by putting it in each department. So that's going to be another thing that I'm not going to necessarily reference every time, but we're moving IT when we can, when it's a specific expense, we're going to try and allocate it. A couple quick pieces of information. Between Huntley and Metfield, they field in a calendar year 61,000 calls, 22,000 office visits, and I always talk about this. Half of those calls and half of those office visits do not have anything to do with the POA. They are ACC, they are city, they are wastewater, Carroll Electric, fill in the gap. But they do an outstanding job sending people in the right direction. Okay, we're not the right people, but this is where you go to get the answers, and here's the person that we're going to talk to. And then the activity cards, 22,000. 8,400 you see that team is exceedingly busy every year. So you see labor going up. One thing that I always do is I look at the trailing 12 and multiply that by 0.28, which is the cost of living increase, and that usually explains most of the increase. And then we talk about a variety of different increases in a variety of different areas. Okay, marketing and office services. So this is one area we've combined. So it's kind of an oddball when people first hear so we have crews that actually go out and pick up mail, deliver mail, do banking, do the whole thing. And so we basically put this under marketing because they're next to each other in the office, and that's the extent of the logic. So labor is going to decrease as we restructure. We're going to have about $16,000 for savings. We're actually consolidating a position, or we're actually not be replacing a position. And we're going to do some shifting in the marketing strategy from paid advertising to more organic. And so Larry wrote a really detailed thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you because I don't want Jeff to start throwing stuff at me if I take too long talking. So you see that we're going to have we're going to increase on labor here. That says decrease, and then that says increase. Nothing like in the middle of the presentation you find there. And you have expenses are going to go down. So net total decreases that I apologize for the description. That's where the error is. The numbers that you see are correct. Golf operations. All right, you can see that we actually came down in golf rounds this year, and we got to remember we had Highlands closed, and we had Highlands closed longer than we had expected, and then don't forget about the spring rains. They just absolutely destroy us. And if you were listening in on the golf community yesterday, you also heard Daryl talk about we've lost 3 weekends this year in this month. In the previous month, it's like every single Saturday or every single Sunday, one or the other was hammered, and that just really impacts. When we lose a weekend day, that just really has an impact on the number of rounds played. This is an estimate through the remainder of the year, so we're hoping to get back to 24 numbers. All right. Also, buckets. So Tangier Creek was closed for a large portion of 24. all of 24. And so that impacts it. So we're anticipating we're going to do a whole bunch in 25, and definitely in 26 we'll have all operations open. All right. So revenue is going to go up by $988,000. As we talked about, the member green fees is going up. We feel that the rounds is going to go up because as all forces is going to go up, and containers is going to go up all year increase in non-member green fees. So non-member green fees represent about $1.21 million a year, and that is important to us. But when we had Highlands closed, we had to give a lot of those tea times to our members so that it really cancels out the member rounds this year. And so we anticipate our non-member rounds are going to increase. And a modest increase in merchandise sold and cost of sales can go up because of merchandise and so forth. We talked about the addition of full-time employee and use of the shops and increases for picker reels. For professional development, we can continue to develop our staff. We have 3 that passed the initial tolerability tests, and so they're going to start going through the PDA management program and evaluation. Okay, so change from in the assessment presentation, we talked about having a $1 fee for range buckets with an activity card if the assessment increase was not approved. And upon further review, we determined that this $1 fee would be used as a nuisance fee, would potentially cause lines at the front counter, and we were really concerned that those free buckets are really helping grow the Ambergolf and Bella Vista. So upon further reviews, we said, hey, okay, we're increasing green fees for our members. Let's not do this at the same time. It's going to be a nuisance. In the 30, 40 speeches I gave, this was one of this dollar increase, and we're going to talk about recreation a little bit. That's where the biggest hesitation was, the biggest pushback, and so we listened and said, yeah, this is going to be a nuisance fee, and we don't want to do that. We want to have reasonable increases, but we don't want to overdo it. All right, so you can see the large increase in revenue, cost of sales, that's partially tied to the large increase in revenue. We talked about the additional labor at each of the shops. Plus, don't forget about the cost of living increase and the expenses. You have that education we talked about and the reels and other supplies and all that stuff. So nice flow through on that additional revenue. As I like to see that positive flow through. All right. All right. I briefly talked about recreation, so let's talk about this. Okay, now in this presentation, you'll notice that what we've done is we've split recreation in 2. We have, for simplicity purposes, I call it inside recreation and outside recreation. So outside recreation is going to be the marina, Blowing Springs, and the trails. Okay, and then everything else is inside, even though the pools are outside. You'll have to forgive me on that one. But we separated out that was an internal restructuring that we did earlier this year. Okay, so we're going to see an increase in revenue of about $5,200 due to more group fitness classes and swim lessons. The remainder of the delta is a combination of the reduction in special events and increase in supplementary program fees. Cost of sales will decrease with tighter inventory purchasing, and then labor will decrease by $105,000 as we consolidated one manager position, and we've checked with our insurance company, and we're going to decrease hours during slow periods. So like Monday through Thursday, we're going to decrease the number of lifeguards. On the weekends, we'll have a full contingent. But on the slow periods, we're going to decrease. The insurance company was basically, you don't have to have lifeguards at all. You can have the sign that says swim at your own risk. We don't want to go that far. And this is a big challenge for us in filling those positions because They're just hard positions. They're expensive positions to fill. And also, we made a change in our policy that you now must be 16 years old, and a lot of our lifeguards are actually 15, or they start out at 15. So we've now made this policy because we have restrictions on when 15-year-olds can work. So a couple different factors went into this decision. So we're going to reduce the number of lifeguards hours going forward. So that's how you're going to have that kind of a savings. So that manager was not making $105,000. So, all right. And then Kingsdale Tennis Center, they were awarded $30,000 in grants for resurfacing. You will not see that in this budget at all because that's totally separate. We're going to treat that separate. So very proud of the team for going and getting that award, and it's going to be spent. But when you look at the capital projects, you're not going to see that on there. Well, we're treating that separately. Okay. And then also we're looking at the $1. This is again where we reevaluated and said, geez, we're really going to have a negative impact if we charge the nuisance fee at $1 on our gyms, indoor pickleball, pools, and beach. And we're going to create counters, lines at the front counter. You see that when you have a very popular fitness class, we already have classes or we have lines. And if you add everybody coming in with their credit card and paying a buck, it's just going to be a hassle. The other concern I have is I have a feeling that $1 fee is going to have a cascading effect where we're going to go in our activity cards from $22,000 activity cards issued to much less than that. And when we have fewer activity cards out there, we have fewer people using that discount to play golf, to go play tennis, to go into our restaurants to get the $10 discount, all those things. So it would have a cascading effect that would impact multiple departments. All right. Now, this is one of the first departments that we're going to talk about capital projects, and they're in need of a service truck to tow stuff, and then the flooring in the changing rooms at Kingsdale and Metfield. That flooring is really old, and you can scrub, and it can be sanitary, and it still looks nasty when it's that old. So we're going to redo the flooring there. And here's the financials. So you can see the revenue is by and large static, up a little bit. Cost of sales, we're talking about that. Labor down a little bit, and expenses down a whisker. So a nice positive on that. All right, so we talked about outdoor trails and so forth, outdoor recreation, how we split it this year. So we're going to have a $43,000 increase at Blowing Springs as we get more aggressive with holiday pricing and increased tourism from the bike park. The last time I heard, the bike park would be opening in June. And an increase in boat rentals of $15,000. We were hit by multiple storms once again. When it rains, it impacts golf, it impacts the marina, it impacts multiple areas, and we had a whole bunch of it in the rain in the spring. Labor will increase by $16,000, $16,000 as we change staff structure and merit raises. Expenses are expected to increase due to various repairs. You'll see in our capital purchases that we're replacing a boat motor and a actual boat, but we still have a lot of work to do on the existing boat. So you're going to go, well, hey, you're increasing our capital expenditure. Why aren't our repairs going down? We still have other boats that we need to fix, and they need a lot of work. And I just referenced these. So we have a replacement boat motor, and we do this almost every year. We get a replacement, and then we have a pontoon boat, a 23-foot pontoon boat, and the one that we're getting rid of is just in really, really bad shape. So you see the revenue is going to go up, cost of sales about the same, labor is going to go up a little bit, and expenses I talked about, all the repairs and so forth. Now, this is the department that trail maintenance goes into. So the $90,000 for trail maintenance is in this department. And you see, we still have a positive EBITDA because of Blowing Springs and the marina. All right, food and beverage. All right, revenue will increase by 275 with the new concept of Little Sugar and some modest menu prices to reflect the market. Cost of sales will decrease by about $21,000, which is not a lot over this thing. And concerted focus on cross-utilization and tighter expense management to reduce expenses by about $195,000. Thank you. Okay. Almost half the shortfall in the trailing 12 is BV65, so we had to make that change. The early indications, and we just converted to Little Sugar just a little bit ago, so the data that we have is very limited. Revenue is up just a little bit, but most importantly, labor is down, and that's good, and it continues to trend down. Now, update: we have hired Dennehy, which is a national search firm, to find our new director of food and beverage. Dennehy is the same company that we used to find Graham, well, at this point, he's no longer new. He's been with us for about almost 2 years, our director of golf course maintenance. So we are very pleased with the work that they did. We're optimistic that the new director will start in January or February. We have clearly had an extremely disappointing year this year, and we need to do a lot better. Reemphasize, we have had a very disappointing year this year. This is not what we want to do. We need to do better. The board is strongly pushing management to make significant improvements as rapidly as possible. So we're hoping that the new person will come in. We're already making changes, but we're hoping when the new person gets here, they can hit the ground running as quickly as possible. Now, what's interesting is that the board continues to debate this issue. There's a lot of discussion today in the last couple of weeks, and so we plan on meeting. The board plans on meeting early next week. They want to make sure they get a consensus. So I wouldn't be surprised if additional adjustments were made to the F&B budget between now and next week. It's going to be up to the board, but we want to make sure that the board continues to discuss this very important issue and come to a resolution that they're comfortable with. All right, so here are the numbers, and we talked about the trailing 12 being really ugly, and they are ugly, and we need to do a lot better. Our goal was to try and at least get similar to 2024. 2024 was impacted compared to 23 because we had BV65 in there, and that was clearly not the right path. So our look is to improve, and this isn't where we want to stop. We want to continue to get better and better. Those are some very challenging numbers to present, but we've got to do better. All right, clubhouses. Now, we talked earlier about the interim manager being coming out of member resources, human resources. So this is the flip side of this. So if we allocate a portion of the salary out, this is where it's heading to. And then we're going to have a decrease in various expenses. We're actually looking at bringing some of the, not all of it, but some of the janitorial services in-house. Also, we have to replace a chiller. Not a cheap thing, but this thing has been broken for a while, and it creates havoc during the summertime. And then the fire suppression system at Metfield needs to be repaired and upgraded significantly. All right, so this is clubhouses. You see this is the allocation of the labor and expenses coming down. So that is clubhouses. All right, IT. Still legal is more interesting than IT. And our expenses are being decreased as we allocate those. I mentioned that multiple times. We're allocating those expenses that we know we can allocate to the respective departments. and decrease is partially offset by $16,000 increase in server support and $8,000 increased training in critical security. If you recall, last year at some point, the city of Bella Vista had a cyber attack, and that scared it scared us a lot. So we are really focusing on cybersecurity. So here's that expense savings because we're allocating that out. So when you look at all the other departments, always remember you have the cost of living increase on labor, and then you have some IT going to all the different departments. All right. Oh, accounting, and still legal is more interesting. So labor is going to increase by about $26,000 due to position filled for a full year versus part of the year, which is in the trailing 12. One position has been reduced with no plans to refill, which is good. Expenses are going to go up. Cloud technology consulting. I have no idea what that is. Professional development. How am I doing? Professional development for our staff, about $11,000. We've been avoiding this for a while, and that's going to come back and bite us. Small increase over several categories in the IT allocation. We keep on talking about that. All right, so there's those numbers. Once again, while we did eliminate one position, what we also had, that was a part-time position. This is a full-time position where the person's been there all year long. So that really messes with your trailing 12. All right, general income. All right, so we talked about non-performing lots. These are lots that are not paying their assessments or lots that are owned by the POA because we're not going to pay ourselves. That would be ridiculous. So if you go back all the way to 2015, we had 8,000 out of 39,000 lots. That's a huge amount, 21%. And we're actually now below 1,000. That is just crazy how well we've done. So you have a legal department and you have accounting and collections. And what I like is this is constant effort. This is a sustained effort over multiple years. Our goal is zero. We'll never get to zero. Golfers will never get to zero, but they shoot for it. All right. So recreational amenities fees, $1,500 on new meters. That's $972,000. Keep in mind that money must be used for capital projects or reserves for capital, future capital. Assessments and member transfer fees are going to go up by $153,000. Activity cards, that's where we put this, $126,000. Credit card convenience fee. I'm not talking about the water side. I'm just talking about the POA side, about 110. Investment income is going to decrease by about $60,000. We're guessing Treasury are going to go down. Keep in mind, we keep our investments exceedingly conservative. Treasury bonds, CDs, that's it. We don't get any more exotic than that. You can get exotic all you want with your own money, but not with ours. Not a good idea. This is also the department where we put PTO, so it tends to fluctuate up and down based upon how the employees do or don't take PTO during a year. Medical expenses, boy, we talked about this earlier, $647,000. That's just a real big kick in the teeth, and you can't do much about that at all. And people have talked about, well, self-insured, why don't you just go into fully insured? Well, fully insured, they see the same reports. So they're going to charge you more anyway. So there's no way around that one. Workman's comp insurance is going to increase by $27,000. We anticipate that our rate is going to decrease over time. There's a 3-year revolving cycle on that. And professional services will increase to about $36,000 due to ongoing environmental costs. Trafalgar, we have to continue to do water testing out there. All right. Bank charges, we talked about those, are expected to increase. No, we haven't talked about bank charges. Just continue to go up. Security upgrade to our ACH, just about every transaction. So yeah, I did talk about that earlier. We are not going to have an assessment vote election in 26. Thank God. That's going to save us some money. Property taxes are going to increase by $24,000. So, yeah, the county looks, oh, wow, you made a huge increase, improvement to Tenure Creek. Your taxes just went up. Lovely. So here's the revenue. We talked about this. Here's the labor and expenses, and so there's the net. So clearly the recreational amenities fee is really the driving factor on that one. Okay, central admin. So central admin is the CEO, myself, CFO, corporate secretary, and other administrative expenses. We had a non-cash donation in the trailing 12 for the Treehouse Park of $143,000. It's a gift, it's an asset, so it has to be accounted for in our financials, even though it was non-cash. All right, we've done this a couple of times over the years. I think the first time we did it was way back when they put in the Skills Park in Metfield. And the trailing 12 has engineering services for $18,000, which we do not expect in 26, and includes the cost of professional services for our audits, our tax returns, $54,000. So you'll see that revenue is going to go down. So this was the Treehouse Park. We got it in the trailing 12. Labor is going to go down a little bit, and it looks like expenses are going to stay about flat. All right, lakes and parks. All right, so here are our boat registrations that we continue to grow, and then they gradated this based upon the biggest ones. The most boat registrations we have are kayaks, supboards, canoes, all the non-motorized stuff, or stuff that is 10 horsepower or less. And so that gives you an idea. We continue to get increases over time. And once again, look at the break between 2019 when the 2020 plan went into effect, then we really started to take off. All right. Revenue increased by about $108,000 from the boat registrations. That was part of the notice when we did the assessment increase vote, and that was included. We notified the membership about 6 months ago on that one. Gun range is going to go up because we're going to have a full year of operation. Gun range only opened up in February, so in the trailing 12, you only have, 5-6 months in there, not much. We also had lead reclamation. We receive that in the trailing 12. We do that about once every 5 years or so, and it usually gets us about $30,000. So we just had it last year, so we won't have it again for another 4 years. Labor shows an increase of about $77,000 due to the gun range opened all year long. So we have more gun range people out there, which is a really good thing. And then we addition of a part-time lake ranger and Merritt Creek increases. And then non-capital, we have the dam valve inspections. I'm not swearing. Where we have to do that, that's required, and I wouldn't be shocked if we have to come back to the board at some point in the coming year or next year with repairs as a result of these inspections. And then we're going to seal the baffles at the gun range. So we want to make sure those baffles stay in great shape for a really long time. So those are non-capital improvements, about $40,000. All right, big ticket item is the repaving of the dam road at Lake Windsor. That's our largest area, and we have desperately needed to do that for several years. So we're very pleased we're going to be able to do that. And then the electrofishing refit, that's going to cost us about $61,000, and they've been asking for this, I think, 2 or 3 years. I've had put them off over and over again, and we finally had to do it. So here's the revenue there. So here's the boat registrations. That's really driving that, and also you have the gun range open for the entire 12 months. So that's that. Labor, you have the gun range and a little bit lake rangers there, and expenses pretty much down a little bit flat. All right, MAC, or maintenance and construction. We do a lot of our work in-house. Not many people know that we have 2, if not 3, general contractors on staff. So we're able to do a lot of this stuff in-house. When you look at the labor numbers, it's a big number, but we do all this. We don't have to call a plumber. We got a plumber. Unless it's really crazy stuff that we can't handle. So revenue from surplus auction. So anytime, if we're going to get a new vehicle, we usually, if you look at the auction, we're going to sell that vehicle. So, or a piece of equipment out from a mower or whatever. We have the labor increase for the merit. Expenses will increase by about $11,000 on payroll taxes and retirement contribution, which is matching. Tree removal, we're going to decrease that a little bit. We've been doing a lot of that the last couple of years, and we think we can decrease it a little bit. Utilities will go up a little bit, and supplies are going to decrease by about $4,000. We're going to replace a service vehicle for our HVAC equipment trailer, and then I mentioned the out front mower. They asked for 2, and we pushed them down to 1, so they weren't very happy with me. So you have revenue from the auction, the labor we talked about, and then a modest savings there. All right, golf maintenance. Revenue is going to go up by about $36,000. We've been selling some old equipment, and so that, or we're going to do the auction. Labor will increase by the merit increase. Net say an increase of about $149,000 on lease equipment. So keep in mind, you have to go back about 3 to 4 years on leases. So there's been a lot of inflation over the last 3 to 4 years. So when you renew those leases, it's a big hit. And then $53,000 increase in additional chemical applications to eradicate Bermuda from the zoysia. We'll have to continue to be careful with the zoysia to make sure that Bermuda does not come back. And fungicides and nematide. Oh my God. Thank you, worms. Unless we're optimistic that we won't have as much winter kill, especially up at Highlands, and decrease in is expected in utilities. Because of Lake Brittany, because we had to fill that up a lot, and the trailing 12. So we had a motor, the lake. So Lake Brittany has a extremely small watershed. They don't have any streams that come in, so it was way down. We had to use a pump to fill it up, and we're hoping that won't happen again. It only happens about once every 10 years, according to Mike, and this was our year. And less contract labor, laying sod, and so forth. Now, I do want to mention, if you watched the golf committee meeting yesterday, you learned we really wanted to do the fairways at the country club. We just couldn't make the budget work this year because it's a double hit. Not only is it about $160,000 to do the sod to sprig, and all the other supplies and everything, it's about a $500,000 hit on our revenue. And so that was just way too much of a hit for this year. So we tried to do it. We really wanted to do it, but we couldn't. So if you've looked at some of the golf committee meetings a couple months ago, and then yesterday you got, what happened there? It says that we were doing it. Well, we were hoping to do it, but we just couldn't make the numbers work. All right. They do have quite a number of capital projects. Some of which are really exceeding, some of them are not. The first one is a Scottsdale hiring when they're renovating at that area, and they make it so it's going to be greatly improved. We're going to run the electrical to 5 readings on Kingwood. We have some 3 readings problems, and they just don't get any airflow in those areas. But remember, we got to run into those tower which is a long way. You can't use the tower for the irrigation. That does work. Nursery and islands, that's a real good long-term thing to work on. Surge truck replacement, a culvert at Kingwood. We're going to start testing ponds, mowers, and at a couple of our fairways in the country club. This is the way of the future. And asphalt here to smooth out some of the parts. We did that at Ricky, and it's looking pretty good so far. We want to see how it goes as a winter time. Repaving portions of the country club car and repaving portions of the Scottsdale. So we go in, we smooth out, and then we use some repaving and rewiring. So a lot of projects in that area. So we couldn't do the big project we wanted to do, but we were able to do a number of other projects that are going to increase the quality of our playing experience. So we talked about revenue, which is not that big. The oxygen labor we referenced, and the expenses. All right. So after going through all those departments, then you go to the POA without water. We haven't touched water yet. And so now we're going to look at it in a little bit more detail. So we explained how we got to all these revenue numbers, the cost sale, the labor expenses, and how we got here. So hopefully I explained it in enough detail to show you how we got to the positive EBITDA of $154,000. And then you have the applications, or I referenced this earlier. So the water allocation is because they don't have count on IT, marketing, Mac, legal, database, member resources, central admin, and human resources, all that. So it's a 2.8% increase over prior year. Then we went through all the capital projects we talked about on a departmental basis, and it comes to $978,000. So you can see the recreational amenities is really coming into great use because it'll also get $800,000 in the spent on projects. Then you have commercial loan. This is principal and interest. And then you have the water loan, which is principal and interest also. We have debt service. Then we're going to put it in about $250,000 looking into our capital reserves. So remember, recreational amenity, we're like in $975,000. So you have to account for all of that. We're more than that. We're covered. And then you have some prepaid fees. Those are like insurance. If you pay now, it's covered for all or a portion of next year. So those are prepaid expenses. So when you look at all those, you have the EBITDA, you have the allocation, you have the subtraction for capital, you have the subtraction for commercial, you have the subtraction for the commercial loan, principal and interest, you have the subtraction for capital reserve, water, principal and interest, prepaid expenses, and then you wind up with a positive simple cash flow of $125,000. And per policy, that positive and simple cash flow must be positive, but compared to last year, even more positive. All right, now we're going to talk about the water department. All right, so we're anticipating 650 water taps this coming year. We've been higher than that, and then it's kind of eased off on everything. We feel comfortable. That's about 54 water tap per month. And if you look at the last several months, it's embedded right in that area. So, crystalling, we think that we'll do about 650. So that translates into, unfortunately, the decrease is fewer water taps than the real well. That was crazy. How many water taps we installed? Is expected to go up by $1 million or over $1 million. So we're proposing 7.5% increase, and that's increase in cost of the retail cost, but also the usage that we get more and more usage. And once this we're doing the caveat that we have to make future changes down the road based on once we get the contract finalized with City of Bentonville. We talked about the processing fees, so that's going to bring in revenue, but on the other side, the expense, which is what we are charged. And we are anticipating that the costs are going to go up, so costs are going up, and that's what's going on there. All right. Labor is expected to increase as we made some salary adjustments. We had to get more competitive. Everybody else is raising their labor, their payroll compensation, and we needed to match that. Plus, we had added a sixth crew because we were just trying to get 650 water taps. It's a huge number. So it's a huge number. And then also use like a technician. Expenses are enacted sustainably. We talked about the impact for the POA, well, the water is impacted also. So we allocate based on the head count. We don't do it by person that we violation. We do it by total population and so forth. Increase in outside service contract $83,000. We start absorbing into quarterly, and then non-capital expenditures. And part of that have to do with Act 605 with the rate study. Okay, so you see the water trap tower for that. So we're anticipating in this year about 661. But like you can see, we got 17, then only 201. It's been a quarter, it's been 3-month period lately. So we're doing a lot more. We're 17,000 improved homes now. Okay, so here is what revenue looks like for the entire department. The cost of sales, our fees are going up. Labor going up with that 6 crew and so forth. Expenses are going on. A lot of times when you have more meters installed, they're going to have more expenses, the whole thing. So you see our positive EBITDA of $4.4 million. Okay, now, so this is the cash flow for the water department. So we talked about the allocation. I want to go into this in more detail. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about one of our largest capital projects, a 3-year project, which is the water tower on the far west side. And it started early this year and will complete in 2027. So we're going to, at the end of this year, and we're adding funds as WCC, but we're at the end of the year, we'll have a balance in on our water capital reserves. We have reserves specifically for the water tower, and that's going to be $2.5 million. We're going to release and spend $1.8 million. So we're going to release from our capital reserves, and then we're going to spend it, and then we're going to put additional reserves in 2026, $1,450,000. I could have netted this number, but I want to be as clear and transparent as possible. We broke those two numbers out. So our reserve at the end of 26 will be $2.2 million, and we anticipate that we will hold all of that 2.7. We'll hold 2.7 out. We'll have $2.7 million in expenditures in 27, and so we'll have to self-fund through cash only $500,000 in 27. Our goal all along has been to self-fund this project and not have to go out for a bond or a loan or anything like that, and we're going to do it. And that is a big accomplishment. All right. So the allocation is the flip side for the POA, and that's going to increase by 2.8%. Here are the capital projects. So you have the West Side Water Tower. We just talked about that. We need a single axle dump truck. We need a backhoe trailer, 2 backhoe trailers, replacements. The Erie Tower vault rehab. Don't ask me what that is. Actually, those are both of these are replacing 20-year-old parts to upgrade those facilities. A medium-sized truck, the McGrath connector, and Aldershot connector, and a backhoe. And some of these, like one of the backhoes, one of the backhoe trailers, and one of the dump trucks, is all related to the 6th crew. So you add the staffing, but you also have to give them the equipment to get the job done. So you see $2.5 million in capital projects, but the big dog on this one was 1.8 for the West Side Water Tower. We plan to add $600,000 to general reserves. So this is not the water tower capital reserves. This is just general reserves. This is rainy day fund type stuff in case something happens. And we anticipate the balance at the end of 2026 to be about $2.7 million. This is the flip side. When the POA pays the water principal and interest, this is the flip side of that. And then we do have some prepaid expenses similar to the POA. So this is the water cash flow. So here's the allocation. Here's the capital projects. Addition to the water reserves or general water reserves. Addition to the water tower reserves. So we call that out. We could have netted that, but we wanted to be transparent as possible. The release, once again, we could have probably netted all three of those numbers, and it confused everybody, including myself. And then you have the loan repayment, the prepaid, and a nice positive of about $90,000. So the tentative plan is for the board to approve the budget, the 26th budget, and the 26th fee schedule at their November 20th meeting. Also, this is going to be the second reading for policy changes to policy 1.04, policy 3.03, 1.01, 1.03.4. And if you want more information about those four policies, please go to the video for the Rules and Regulations Committee. And in the prior months, they've been talking about this for several meetings. So if they get to this next week and the board just kind of glides through that, it's because they talked about it at previous meetings, so you can actually look at that the 4th. 1 hour and 5 minutes.
Can you go back 2 slides? I just wanted you to say I'm getting no, Minnesota. Look at the son of a numbers all a little blurry eyed.
See, I'm better than nuts.
Oh, for some perks.
Okay, are you winded? Well, I do want to have the board, in your board packet, you will see the fee schedule and the budget pool. So it's just the third page, something like that, 4th page, and you'll see. So I took what was presented on the presentation and enumerated all of them, and I gave descriptions about the 2 months at the lower and the 10 months at the higher. Now, the one thing that I will point out to our membership is with regards to activity cards, we're going to base it upon the renewal date. Okay, so for new activity cards, you buy your activity, you never purchase the activity card, and you purchase it before March 1st, it'll be at the lower rate. And if you purchase it after March 1st, it'll be at the higher rate. Pretty simple. For renewals, we will base it upon the renewal date that is in the system. So if you lucked out and you got your original activity card in January, February, happy you, because it's going to be at a lower rate. Okay, and so if you are unlucky and your renewal date is on or after March 1st, it's going to be at the higher rate, and you can't come in early and pay early because it's off of the renewal date that's already in the system. We had many meetings about how we're going to implement all these things. We had to make sure we had to include IT because they are in charge already. And so you'll see that the recommended motions include approval of the budget. Hopefully we get there. And then you have the fee schedule. And I intentionally included in the motion for the water department the variable about when we get the wholesale agreement approved. And we're working on it. We've been pushing them for 1.5 years, and I'm very disappointed that we're still talking about that. On that. Well, on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank you, your team, Beth and Jeffrey today. We're making some last minute changes and just so we're putting some stuff together for putting this together. I know the energy, the time, the effort, and the thought process has been fantastic. We still have some work to do as a board, but thank you for putting all that together and presenting it. Absolutely. With that being said, we will go into open forum. And Tom, you want to speak? Remember, you got 3 minutes.
After quickly listening to the proposal, number one, is the total revenue increase what number? On user fees. What is that revenue increase for the year that you computed?
Okay, are you parsing it down to just user fees?
User fees.
I would have to get back to you on that because the numbers that I presented include assessments, include everything else. So I do not have that part.
What was that total revenue of 2.5 million? What was that number?
Okay, so the 2.5, we referenced that a large portion of that is the recreational amenities fee. That was just under $975,000. And then you have user fees that are going up.
Golf fees,
All fees, those are registrations.
What is recreational fees?
Okay, so recreational setting is so for viewers at home that did not watch the meeting from 2-3 months ago, go back in time 10, 20 years. We have had a new water tap infrastructure fee. What's it called? Impact fee. Which basically means that when you have a new water customer that has an impact upon the entire water system.
I think I understand. Is that $1,500? Is that the $1,500 on a new bill?
Yes. Okay. So that. Okay. Let me finish. So that impacts. Following that same logic, when additional people move in, they have an impact upon our amenities. We have more people using the gym, more people playing golf, more people more. And so this allows us to make sure that they're paying their fair share. Also, keep in mind that if a member's been here for 20 years, they've been paying assessments, they've been using the gym, they've been paying user fees, and then someone builds a brand new home, and then they get the benefit of all that immediately. And so this is their contribution.
I think I remember doing the bell.
Well, they mess up in any way.
I thought it was $1,000, but it's $1,500.
It's actually at one point it was discussed to be a variety of different, and the board felt that $1,500 was a reasonable amount to ask for new water meters.
Okay. I had one other question, if you don't mind. What do you think the per 1,000 gallon increase on the water is going to be for mine and your water bill?
So
It's going up 7.5%.
these are pre-tax amount numbers. The minimum is going to go from $22.43 to $24.11, and that's in the packet that you collected when you got in here. The volumetric rate, or the per thousand rate, is going to go from $10.64 to $11.44.
Okay. I figured it's probably going to be something about like that.
Yeah,
About, what is it, about a 50 or 60 cent increase per 1,000?
but once again, we have a big unknown in that we thought we would be done with the contract with the city of Bentonville at this time, and we're ready. They're not yet. Criticizing anybody is ready. We're talking to them.
Did I understand correctly that was for a 10-year contract?
That's the 10-year. The original contract was 20 years. They did not want to go more than 10 years this time.
So does that mean our rates won't go up for 10 years?
I don't think so. I think rates are probably going to go up, as with everything.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. Tommy is the sole individual to be here in person, so we were very appreciative of his attendance. And anybody that attended at home, We appreciate you.
All right. Is there anything else before we go into announcements? No? All right. I know during the holiday season, some November and December meetings have been moved forward a week. So our next Board of Directors regular session and the budget vote is next Thursday, November 20th at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom and live stream. Lake JC meeting is Wednesday, December 3rd at 2 p.m. boardroom and live stream. The next GM board meeting, which is a closed meeting, is Thursday, December 4th at 2:30, and that's ones that have been moved up. The board candidate packets are available starting Monday, December 8th, and you can pick them up here by emailing the corporate secretary, which is corporate secretary at BVPOA.com. BVPOA.com. And Jessica will get you one of those. Recreation Committee is not meeting in the month of December. Their next meeting will be in January 12th. The Golf JC meeting will be December 10th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom live stream.
That has changed. That's all right. They changed that last night, didn't they?
So they'll be off November, December, and January. Board of Directors regular work session is December 11th at 9 a.m. boardroom and live stream. And the board candidate informational, it's amazing, we're already there. Very good. Informational meetings are December 16th at 4, January 13th at 4, February 10th at 4. And our next regular session, December regular session, is the 18th at 6 here at the boardroom and live stream. Is there anything else? No? Anything, sir?
Mm-hmm.